Have you ever wondered what makes an NFL game more than just a matchup of two teams? It's the rivalries, the intense, blood-pumping showdowns that capture the imagination of fans and fuel the passion of players. What makes these games so unforgettable? It's not just the touchdowns or the tackles, but the deep-rooted history and fierce competition that turn these games into something bigger, something more than a simple contest of skill. The NFL isn't just about stats and scores. It's about the stories woven into every clash. These rivalries define seasons, create legends, and ignite a fan base like no other. Today, we're diving into the top 5 NFL rivalries that have truly shaped the league. But here's the thing. You might think you know these rivalries, but what you'll uncover today could surprise you. Stick with us till the end, and we'll reveal the rivalry that arguably changed the way we see the NFL today. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Rivalries aren't just about history. They're about pride, tradition, and the pure, unrelenting drive to win. So let's dive in and explore how these 5 rivalries have impacted the game and why they remain as thrilling as ever, decade after decade. Packers versus Bears, the oldest rivalry in the NFL. When it comes to NFL rivalries, none stand taller or more storied than the Green Bay Packers versus Chicago Bears. This rivalry isn't just about football, it's about history, pride, and tradition. From their first clash in 1921 to over 200 games later, it has become the longest-running rivalry in professional sports. The fierce competition between these two teams is not just a regional battle, but a symbol of the NFL's evolution. Green Bay, a small town with a rich tradition, goes head-to-head with Chicago, a bustling metropolis. It's grit versus swagger, history versus future. This rivalry has shaped the NFL in ways few others have. The Packers and Bears have been more than just opponents on the field. They've been foundational to the growth of the NFL. In the league's early days, both teams quickly became powerhouses. With Green Bay's dominance led by Vince Lombardi and the Bears' resilience under George Halas, the rivalry set the stage for what the NFL would become. Games were often decided by a few key moments, and as both teams traded victories, the rivalry grew more intense, more dramatic, and more legendary. The power struggle between these two teams became symbolic of the league itself, a battle for supremacy in the Midwest. Over the years, certain games and players have solidified the rivalry's status. The 1963 NFL Championship, where the Bears clinched a title, marked a pivotal moment. Halas's Bears were at the height of their power, while Lombardi's Packers were on the rise. Then, in 1985, the Bears' defense, the legendary Monsters of the Midway, dominantly shut out Green Bay twice, intensifying the clash. The Packers' return to glory came in the 2010 NFC Championship, where they defeated the Bears to move on to the Super Bowl. The 21-14 victory was not just about winning. It was a milestone that reaffirmed the Packers' dominance in the rivalry. Key players like Brett Favre for Green Bay and Dick Butkus for the Bears turned these matchups into legendary contests. Favre's ability to come from behind, paired with his powerful arm, made him a nightmare for the Bears' defense. Butkus, on the other hand, embodied the Bears' hard-hitting mentality, making every encounter physical and intense. Coaches like Mike Ditka also added their fire to the rivalry, with his passionate leadership making every Bears-Packers game feel like a battle for supremacy. It wasn't just the games that made this rivalry unforgettable. It was the personalities and the will to win every time they faced off. From the early days of the league to the modern NFL, the Packers versus Bears rivalry has had an undeniable impact. It helped define the NFL's identity and expanded its reach across America. Whether it was the small-town heart of Green Bay or the big-city grit of Chicago, their matchups were symbolic of the entire league's values. Even now, over 100 years later, Packers versus Bears is more than just a game. It's a living piece of NFL history. The emotions, the pride, and the fierce competition continue to captivate fans, making this one of the greatest rivalries not just in football, but in sports history. Steelers versus Ravens, a clash of defensive titans. What happens when two of the NFL's most dominant defenses collide? A battle for the ages, where every hit feels like it could be the last, and every play holds the power to shape the future of a division. The rivalry between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens is as fierce as it is physical, a clash of wills where the stakes are always high and the tension never lets up. From the very first snap, you know this is no ordinary game. It's a war for dominance in the AFC North, and every inch of ground gained is fought for tooth and nail. This isn't just football. This is a spectacle of grit, heart, and pride. When you think of these teams, you think of defense in its purest form. The Steelers, with their storied steel curtain defense, and the Ravens, built on a reputation for hard-hitting, no-nonsense football. Offenses dread playing these defenses, knowing that each yard will come at a price. There are no easy wins in this rivalry. It's about punishing the opponent, making every pass, every rush, every possession a brutal test of resilience. The rivalry, which began in 1996 with the Ravens formation, has consistently been a measuring stick for defensive excellence, setting the bar for what tough football really looks like. At the heart of this rivalry are some of the most unforgettable playoff moments in NFL history. Take the 2008 AFC Championship game, where the Steelers emerged victorious 23-14. That game wasn't just a win, it was a statement. It was a declaration that when it comes to playing tough, no one does it better than Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Each play was more intense than the last, with both teams leaving everything on the field. Fast forward to the 2014 AFC wildcard game, and the Ravens pulled off a stunning 30-17 victory, despite Ben Roethlisberger throwing for over 300 yards. It was a perfect example of how anything can happen when these two teams meet. No matter the odds, no matter the stats, the rivalry never fails to deliver unpredictability. What makes the Steelers versus Ravens rivalry stand out is not just the legendary defenses, but the raw emotion that fuels every encounter. These games aren't just about football, they're about pride, family, and fan loyalty. The cities of Pittsburgh and Baltimore live and breathe this rivalry, with fans whose devotion to their teams runs deep. These games divide families, friends, and entire communities, each side passionately defending their own. This rivalry is more than a series of matchups. It's a tradition, one that will continue to define AFC North football for generations to come. It's a war that's fought year after year, with each season adding new chapters to an already rich history of unforgettable moments. Cowboys versus Redskins. Commanders. America's team versus the East Coast power. What happens when two NFL giants, both symbols of success and tradition, clash on the field? You get the epic rivalry between the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins, now Commanders. This isn't just about football, it's about pride, history, and the fierce competition that has shaped the NFL for decades. The Cowboys, known as America's team, represent national prominence and star power, while the Redskins embody East Coast toughness and championship pedigree. This rivalry has defined the NFC East and left an indelible mark on the league. At the heart of this rivalry is a tale of contrasting legacies. The Cowboys, with their 5 Super Bowl victories, were crowned America's team in the 1970s, a title that stuck because of their consistent dominance and national following. The Cowboys symbolize the glamour and spotlight of the NFL, always in the media and never far from the championship conversation. In contrast, the Redskins were the epitome of hard-nosed football, with a rich history of success in the 1980s and 90s. Their 3 Super Bowl wins during that time solidified them as the gritty blue-collar team of the NFC East. What made this rivalry even more captivating were the iconic personalities on both sides. Dallas had legends like Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, and Tom Landry, whose cool-headed leadership brought the Cowboys into the national spotlight. Meanwhile, Washington had their own set of heroes, such as Joe Gibbs, John Riggins, and Darrell Green, who embraced a tougher, more physical style of play. These teams weren't just playing football, they were engaged in a battle of pride and identity, with fan bases that were as fiercely loyal as they come. The intensity of their matchups reached its peak in the 1980s when Washington, led by Joe Gibbs, was an NFC powerhouse. Games between the Cowboys and Redskins were never just regular season contests. They were events that determined who would dominate the NFC East. The most iconic moment came in the 1982 NFC Championship game, where Washington triumphed 35-34, a win that signaled their continued reign in the division. These games were full of drama, emotion, and unforgettable moments that elevated the rivalry to legendary status. Even as both teams faced ups and downs in the following decades, the rivalry endured. The Cowboys may still be America's most beloved team, and the Commanders continue to represent the heart of East Coast football, but the fierce competition between them has never dulled. It's a rivalry that represents not just a football game, but a larger cultural battle where every matchup adds to the history and legacy of the NFL. Whether at their peak or in rebuilding years, Cowboys versus Redskins will always be a clash that keeps fans on the edge of their seats. Patriots versus Colts, Brady versus Manning, the ultimate QB showdown. In the early 2000s, two names stood above all others in the NFL: Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. The Patriots and Colts were more than just teams. They were symbols of a new era in football, led by two quarterbacks who redefined the game. Their rivalry was about more than just winning games. It was a battle for supremacy in the NFL, a contest between Brady's cold efficiency and Manning's cerebral genius. This wasn't just football. It was a clash of styles that would captivate fans for a decade and leave an indelible mark on the league's history. For years, Brady and Manning dominated the AFC, with their rivalry peaking in the mid-2000s. Brady, with his perfect execution, faced off against Manning, whose precision and ability to read defenses made him a unique force. Their games were never just about passing yards or touchdowns. They were a battle for control, a race to outthink and outplay the other. Each game brought new twists and turns, and the stakes were always high, with both quarterbacks aiming to prove who was the true king of the NFL. What made this rivalry so memorable was the contrast in their teams' philosophies. The Patriots thrived on discipline, led by Bill Belichick's almost robotic approach, while Manning's Colts were built around explosive offense and risky plays. The contrast between Brady's efficiency and Manning's boldness made for an intriguing spectacle, showing how the NFL was evolving. It was no longer just about a strong defense or a running game. It was about the quarterback, the leader who could dictate the pace and direction of the game. One of the defining moments of their rivalry came in the 2006 AFC Championship, when Manning led the Colts to a thrilling 38-34 victory, silencing critics who questioned his ability to win in clutch situations. That game, where Manning threw a game-winning touchdown to Reggie Wayne, marked a pivotal shift in the NFL landscape. Manning was no longer just a regular season legend. He had proven himself in the postseason, and the rivalry with Brady had reached its zenith. But Brady wasn't done yet, and his revenge came in the form of a dominating 45-7 win in the 2014 AFC Championship, further cementing his legacy as the ultimate postseason quarterback. Beyond the field, their rivalry reshaped the entire NFL. The league, once focused on defense, saw an explosion of high-powered offenses, with teams realizing that a transcendent quarterback was now the key to success. Brady and Manning's battles highlighted the evolving role of the quarterback, and their legacies would influence generations of players to come. Their rivalry wasn't just about who won the most games. It was about who would be remembered as the ultimate quarterback, the one who could lead their team to victory in the most pressure-filled moments and forever change the future of the NFL. The enduring legacy of NFL rivalries. As we've seen, NFL rivalries aren't just about the teams. They are about defining moments, legendary players, and the passion that runs through every game. The rivalries we've explored, especially the likes of Packers versus Bears, Steelers versus Ravens, and the ultimate quarterback showdown of Patriots versus Colts, have each shaped the course of NFL history in ways that continue to resonate today. These matchups created new legends, defined seasons, and left fans with memories that will last a lifetime. But perhaps the most important takeaway from these rivalries is the way they've pushed the NFL to evolve. Whether it's through changing offensive strategies, elevating the importance of quarterbacks, or fostering fierce competition within divisions, these rivalries have had a profound impact on how we view the game. They've brought us closer to the sport and made every season feel like the next chapter in an ongoing saga. The stories of these iconic rivalries remind us that the NFL isn't just about what happens on the field. It's about the rich, emotional history behind every snap, every play, and every touchdown. And as the league continues to grow, new rivalries will undoubtedly emerge, bringing fresh excitement, drama, and unforgettable moments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the NFL's most impactful rivalries, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos on the history, players, and stories that have shaped the NFL. And if you're a fan of these rivalries, tell us your favorite matchup in the comments below. Who do you think shaped the NFL the most? Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more incredible NFL content.